Welcome to Planning Ahead with CMS. In this episode, we will focus on the delivery of biodiversity net gain through local enforcement, the mitigation hierarchy, and the units and credits system. At a local level, councils are being encouraged to assess which are the important habitats in their area and develop biodiversity plans. When a developer then promotes a specific development, they must consider their proposal in the context of that area plan and develop their own plans for how existing biodiversity on the site will be managed. Councils must refuse planning permission where the development will cause significant harm to biodiversity, and that cannot be avoided. The mitigation hierarchy requires us to consider how we can go about protecting the ecology that we have now. The aim is to reduce harm at the outset rather than offset it later. The first principle is avoid. So avoid negative impacts to valuable habitat in the first instance by locating development away from areas of ecological interest. Then minimise. Try to minimise habitat damage or loss by altering a development's design where necessary. For example, avoiding bird nesting seasons or leaving gaps in fences to enable mammals to pass through. The next standard is to remediate. So if a damage is caused to a habitat by development, then that should be fixed as part of the development process. Less good is to compensate for damage that's caused. This can be done either on-site through provision of alternative habitat or off-site through units and credits. Biodiversity offsetting is the final principle. Conservation activities that deliver biodiversity benefits in the UK as a whole, for example, planting trees or creating green space in urban areas or woodland planting, is the final limb to the mitigation hierarchy. Most developments do not have the scale to allow for a 10% increase in biodiversity on site, so they're moving towards units and credits. What are units? Units can be delivered on site through habitat creation and enhancement, or delivered off-site through habitat and creation and enhancement in the local area, including by buying into habitat banks, for example meadows owned by farmers in the area. They will be required by a Section 106 agreement, and developers can either invest directly or the council might run a scheme that you can invest in. Credits are a bit different. These are going to be set up by central government. They can be purchased before the development commences, and the diversity will be delivered off-site. The price of credits will be set higher than the equivalent units on the market to reinforce that they should be the last resort and to prevent credits from undermining a local unit market and enabling biodiversity to be offset locally. The idea is that credits will be enabled temporarily during the first period when biodiversity net gain is introduced. The idea is that ultimately developers will arrange their own way of supplying biodiversity rather than relying on this national banking system. Biodiversity net gain is a novel policy in development which will likely have some unexpected consequences on the development market and planning processes. Tune in to episode 3 to hear a discussion of these.